I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this March 16th, 2021. First up is messages from the board. Do we have any messages from our board members?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Michael and Russ and everyone on the crew that completed the Downtown Alleys project. And I want everybody to go down and see clean and lighted alleys that are relatively safe. Thank you, Michael and Russ.
Thanks, Beth.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up we have petitions and remonstrances. This is an opportunity if anyone has any public comment on anything that's not on the agenda tonight. And I will ask if there is any public comment.
I see none in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, next up is consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of minutes from March 2nd of 21. We have approved resolution 2021-03, the declaration of ITS surplus. Approved resolution 2021-04, declaration of sanitation surplus. Approved 2021 blanket noise permit for parks and recreation community events. Approved noise permit for 40 Days for Life rally. Resolution 2021-05, approved new mobile vendor in the public right-of-way, which is Cup of Joy LLP. We have approved Title VI abatement contract. We have approved Walnut Street Garage emergency work on elevator door by Otis Elevator. Approved renewal number 2 of the sidewalk repair assistance program with Brad Gilliand Excavating, Inc. Approved supplemental agreement for Lucity asset management software for fleet, and approval of payroll. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda tonight? Okay, any public comment on the consent agenda?
I see none in the chat.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from board members on anything on the consent agenda?
Dan, did you say approved Title VI abatement, or did you say Title 8?
Yes.
Okay, you said 6. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have no questions. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up is new business. First up, we have approved change order number 4 for the Winslow Henderson Path and Intersection Improvements Project.
Good evening, Matt Smithers with the Engineering Department. This change order is necessary to adjust the final contract amount of the project. There were several pay items that we either had an overrun or underrun on the estimated quantity amounts. There were 11 pay items where there was an overrun on the contract amount, and those totaled $27,632.14. And we also had 11 items that we had an underrun on, and the total on those items was $12,477.18. That would leave us with a adjustment to the contract amount of an additional $15,154.96. The change order was approved last night by the Redevelopment Commission, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any public comment on this item?
I see none in the chat.
Thank you. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve change order number 4 for the Winslow Henderson Path and Intersection Improvement Projects.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is approved change order number 2 for the Downtown Alleys project.
Good evening, everyone. This is Russell White with the Engineering Department. This project was awarded in early September to E&B Paving with a notice to proceed around September 16th. Work began the next day. This contract included the reconstruction of paved alleys in the downtown Bloomington area. The original contract amount for this project was $661,200. There was one other change order number 1, that increased the contract amount by $3,360. So the adjusted contract amount at this point is $664,560. But due to a reduction in materials needed to complete this project, change order number 2 is required to balance out the final contract amount. If approved, this change order will result in a decrease in the contract of $80,735.22. That would make the final adjusted contract amount $583,824.78. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I don't have a question.
Okay, any public comment on this item?
See none in the chat.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve change order number 2 for the downtown alleys project.
And I second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up is approve the award construction contract with E&B Paving LLC for the 17th and Dunn intersection improvements project.
Matt Smethurst again with the Engineering Department. The 17th and Dunn Intersections Improvement Project will replace and upgrade the existing traffic signal at the intersection, as well as make geometric improvements to the intersection. Bids were opened yesterday at a virtual meeting. The city received 1 bid for the project from E&B Paving in the amount of $1,277,925. City staff reviewed all of the bid documents and would recommend your approval of the contract.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
In yesterday's bid opening, you had mentioned that this was right in line with your estimates. I just wanted to get clarification, since they are the only bidder, just ensuring that that is what we were anticipating as far as cost.
Correct. Our engineer's estimate was $1,172,875. So this was 9% over our estimate, but the staff discussed the bid yesterday, and the funding is available to proceed.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Any public comment?
Seeing none in the chat currently.
Thanks. Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we award a construction contract with E&B Paving LLC for the 17th and Dunn Intersection Improvements Project.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have approved the construction contract with Kreider and Kreider Inc. for the East Discovery Parkway roadway resurface and path project.
Good evening. This is Roy Aiton with the Engineering Department. This project will mill and resurface East Discovery Parkway from the entrance to the new IU Health Hospital to the southerly curve. Additionally, a new multi-use path will be constructed on the north side of the roadway. Construction is anticipated to begin in April 2021 and be completed before the hospital move in November. The project will require lane closures on East Discovery Parkway, with a detour route being posted on 10th Street and the bypass. Bids were opened on March 15th with the following 3 bids that we received. Milestone Contractors in the amount of $534,415. E&B paving in the amount of $542,450. And then our low bidder of Kreider and Kreider at $523,195.20. Funding for this project is provided through an agreement we have with Indiana University Health, and also from a grant that we had received from the state for the community crossing grant. And the staff is making a recommendation that we pass or approve the contract to the low bidder, Kreider and Kreider.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I just had
wondered about yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Beth. Sorry.
Oh, I just wondered about the road closures. And have we approved that, or is that included in this, or how do you want to handle the closing of the road of Discovery Parkway?
Are you directing that to me, Beth?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is a Board of Public Works contract and Board of Public Works project. So at the same time you're approving this contract, you're approving the road closure or the lane closure on Discovery as well.
All right. Okay, that's what I wanted to know, if it was included in this. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question, was related to that as well, which is, I noted that it says that there will be a detour posted, but the sound of lane closures, I wondered if it was going to be like a flagging situation, or if there's going to be just one direction open and anyone traveling a different direction needs to go to the other side.
When we approach the project, we always try to figure out a way to do this with the least amount of disruption possible. You know, the quickest way, of course, is a full closure, but we did not want to attempt that. This project has a lot of work that happens in those islands as well. So they're going to have to actually close down an entire lane to do the work in the islands and then do the work on the path on the north. So on this one, we chose just to close one lane. So, and I believe it's the eastbound lane will remain open and the westbound lane will remain shut then throughout the project. So they have room to work and stage their things as well. And that way we only have one detour route throughout the entire project that we have to worry about. And that'll happen while they're doing the construction work on the islands and the path. And then after that, they will have to mill down the entire roadway and repave. And then during paving, that's when they'll go to a flagging operation.
Okay, so because I get myself really directionally disoriented on Discovery Parkway, because I feel like it goes in all directions, does that mean that people will be using the intersection at the 4546 bypass to travel down Discovery Parkway? And anyone who might have turned from 10th Street would be actually routed up to the bypass? Is that the direction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have it
All right.
correct.
And how long is this project supposed to take place?
The project itself has 75 days to be completed. Then there'll be some tree planting that'll happen in the fall. That'll happen under flaggers. But for the most construction work should be done in 75 days.
I can imagine there'll be a lot of traffic in and out of there with the completion of the buildings for the hospital and education building, and that's going to be a lot of traffic in and out of that until it's completed because of the hospital moving in.
And that's why we wanted to get this contract out now. So the hospital is going to do their move in November. So right now we're just under the usual construction traffic, which is quite a bit. And then there's a lot of traffic also generated through IU. But now's the time to do it because I think you're right. It's going to get very busy quick.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So, well, that's good. Okay. Just come back if you need anything. Thank you.
All righty. Any public comment on this item?
I see none in the chat, Dana.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? I move that we, go ahead, Beth.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I move that we, go ahead.
I move that we approve the construction contract with Kreider and Kreider, Inc. for the East Discovery Parkway roadway resurface and path project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Roy.
We were obviously very excited about this
Yeah,
project.
that's the
Yeah,
fun one.
we are. It's going to be a great thing for the city and for the hospital too.
Okay, next up, we have approved tree removal agreement with Monroe LLC for the Jackson Creek Trail Tree Removal Project.
Once again, this is Roy Aiton with the city engineering. This is part of our Jackson Creek Trail project that has been bid out through NDOT, and the construction of this will begin here this summer. The first part of the project is we have some trees that have to be removed so that utilities can get in there and do some utility relocation work. So this project that we have before us this evening is we'll remove the existing trees along the proposed Jackson Creek Trail project. The project will require periodic lane closures with flaggers along High Street from Arden to Winslow. And the tree removal will begin in March, and the project itself the tree removal portion should be completed by May. The board opened quotes that we received two quotes for the work. The first quote was from Bluestone Tree for the amount of $56,890. And the second quote was from Monroe LLC in the amount of $68,500. Bluestone Tree submitted the lowest quote. However, the quote packet that they submitted did not contain the required submittals as outlined in the request for the quotes. To be specific, Bluestone Tree failed to submit to us a Form 96 and a signed quote form along with a signed non-collusion affidavit. And for those reasons, Bluestone Tree submitted quote what has been determined to be a non-responsive quote. Therefore, we're going to the lowest responsible and responsive quoter for this project, which is the Monroe LLC, who had a quote of $68,500. So we're asking the board this evening to determine that the lowest quote was a non-responsive quote, and then also award to the second lowest quote, Monroe LLC, in the amount of $68,500. And the funding for this project is through our 2016 GO Bond Series C, which is the same funding for the Jackson Creek Trail project. Do you have any questions?
How many trees are going to be removed? Do you know at this point?
There's about 40 trees along High and Arden that will be removed,
Yes.
but a lot of them are
Okay.
so varying in size. There's second part of this project also is a large group of trees that are in the parks portion of the project, which is just north of Roar Road. So it's in
Okay.
the wooded area. And I don't have a number for those trees. There's many.
A lot of trees that have to be removed.
Yep.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, when someone like Bluestone Tree fails to submit the required materials, do we let them know why we didn't select them, or is it kind of up to them to follow up and understand that?
No, absolutely. And I've had a conversation since the quote opening with both Bluestone Tree and Monroe LLC. So they're both aware of the situation and what's gone on, but we wouldn't leave someone hanging out there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? from the board?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I just wondered, Bluestone Tree, I haven't seen them submit a bid for anything before. Maybe they aren't just totally aware of what the city requires. I don't know. They're good. It's a good tree removal company. They just have, was this the first bid they submitted it for a city project?
Yeah, that I'm aware of. It's the first one that we had in engineering, but I believe they're doing some work right now with the Parks Department in the Cascade.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, so I think they've got some work and they're just starting out with us. So we're excited to
All right,
use them
yeah.
and we're working with them.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any public comment on this item?
See none in the chat.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I
I move
move,
that we approve. Here we go again. I move that we approve tree removal agreement with Monroe LLC for the Jackson Creek Trail Tree Removal Project.
and I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Next up, we have approved construction inspection contract with Shrewsbury and Associates LLC for the Discovery Parkway project.
Hi, Patrick Durgis with the engineering department. This is a construction inspection for the construction contract that Roy detailed earlier. It was, we selected Shrewsbury from our on-call list. And the contract is for a not to exceed amount for $89,989.25. Similar to the construction contract that was approved earlier. This is being paid for through a MOU with IU Health. And also, well, I guess it's all being paid for through that MOU with IU Health. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I don't have a question.
Okay, any public comment on this item?
Seeing none in the chat.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the construction and inspection contract with Shrewsbury and Associates LLC for the Discovery Parkway project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up is to approve the preliminary engineering contract with Eagle Ridge Civil Engineering Services LLC for the downtown curb ramps project phase 3.
Hi, Patrick Durgis again with the engineering department. Eagle Ridge was selected through an RFP with 6 engineering firms that responded. They received the highest score. And the project will replace curb ramps, anticipated 50 curb ramps. Locations are still to be determined. There's an initial evaluation phase as part of this contract. The project is funded through a highway safety improvement program with a 90-10 split, with the city providing 10% of the funds. Happy to answer any questions.
When do you plan to start the improvement project?
This is just the design for it. And so,
Okay, all right.
So there will be an initial evaluation phase. I would imagine within a month or two, we should know which curb ramps we're going to be focusing on and start the design from there. I believe the letting is scheduled for October 2022 for the construction contract.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on this item?
Seeing none in the chat currently.
Okay, seeing none. I call for a motion.
I move that we approve the preliminary engineering contract with Eagle Ridge Civil Engineering Services LLC for the downtown curb ramps project phase 3.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
You. Okay, and next up is to approve the extension of resolution 2020-28 Kirkwood seating encroachments.
Michael Large, Public Works. I asked for this agenda item to be moved back into new business to allow for public comment. Meeting with the Office of the Mayor today, in addition to ESD and the Downtown Business Association, primarily the Kirkwood owners. We have had a conversation about the duration of the bollards being in place in those blocks that we had spoke about yesterday. And per your suggestion, I went back to them today just to get a final date so that we weren't coming back and forth and continuing to have extension after extension. With that being said, as you've seen in the last updated packet that came out, we've come to a conclusion that at the end of June, the bollards would come back out to allow for full street usage again. The Bloomington Fire Chief was on both calls today, and it was his suggestion as well that those tents, once the emergency order from the state comes in for the COVID relief package to be stopped, as far as the emergency state is right now, the tents would have to come down immediately, is what he's thinking. The city would be at the purview to allow them to stay up for 30 days past that end date of the emergency order. But with all that being said, and with the inclusion of these additional days, we feel that this is going to allow the businesses to continue operation as they have in the past successfully, and at the same time allow us to have control of the right-of-way. Free to answer any questions that you may have regarding the conversations we've had today, but that was the whole reason for bringing this back into new business.
Thanks, Michael. Do we have any questions from the board?
No.
Yeah, I am just interested in hearing a little bit more. I'm not sure I fully understood the relationship between the governor's order and our ability to, restrict the public right of way for this usage. Since we commonly temporarily restrict the right of way for all sorts of different things, is it because of the duration of time that the right of way is restricted for this specific type of purpose?
So it is that, plus it's primarily the structures that they're placing on the right of way, such as the tents, or even the domes that are outside of Uptown. Any type of structure made of that material requires a variance from our fire marshal. And what the fire chief was saying today is that even in those circumstances, the state fire marshal, once that emergency order is gone, they can make you push those temporary structures down. So we believe that by implementing this closure, the way I will say this also, in the 100 block, we have compromised with local businesses, primarily CVS, because they're going to start having a vaccine clinic there. We are only going to close half of that block. So at the alley cut there, behind the bookstore, we are going to place vehicle resistant barriers that will allow that half block to function just as it has previously. We're not going to utilize the bollards at the intersection of Kirkwood and Washington this time, just for allowed traffic flow in and out of that parking lot that's adjacent to CVS, as well as any construction that may come along, as well as we know the Randy Lloyd projects that's going to be happening there. So yeah, but back to your question, Kyla, the state by all means it preempts anything that we decide locally when it comes to the variances for those structures. And that was the reasoning to put this closure in place for the duration of time that they thought they were going to need it for. That way, if it were to come to a head and the state order was still in place on June the 30th, then we can address it at that time. But this allows them to go back into operations as they had previously, to continue having their limited capacity outside, to not create a festival atmosphere, as we've stated time and time again. That's not the purpose of these closures, and really just to allow the businesses to be functional.
Great, thanks for that explanation. That makes sense.
I did see a few members of public come in. If they have any questions, please feel free to raise hands and can answer those questions as well.
Thanks, Michael. Do we have any public comment?
I don't see any in the chat or hands raised.
Alrighty, do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the extension of temporary closure of Kirkwood Avenue and temporary expansion of seating encroachments under resolution 2020-28.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have staff reports and other business.
So I will just report that we have began construction season with the city of Bloomington. Just today, we began a Recover Forward project on West 6th Street, replacing the sidewalks, curb ramps, and other infrastructure in that area. So that project is beginning, which is great news. In addition to, we will be, with the same contractor, Rivertown, be moving into replacement of some bus stops in the next few weeks. So you're going to start seeing a lot of construction. We ask the general public just to be patient. If you live in Bloomington, you know that this is part of what we do, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we continue to improve the infrastructure of our city. And that's all I have. I appreciate everyone's help this week.
Yeah,
By all
thanks,
means, feel
Michael.
free to give me a call if Adam's away. You want to give him as much space as possible.
Thank you. Next up is approval of claims. Do we have any questions from the board on claims?
I don't have any questions, but there was that extra parking meter fund. How does that play into claims? And this is something new with the parking meter fund. Is that a separate claim order, or is that included in the claims?
So Beth, I'm not aware. I don't even believe that I received the claims. Let me look real fast here.
Okay, the claims, and then there was a parking meter fund, which is $5,458.35. I just didn't know how that played into the total claims.
Yeah, I think it's a bank charge, which might be why we don't see
Don't
it
ordinarily see it. Yeah.
like every cycle.
Okay. I thought maybe it had something to do with parking coming back into public works from police. But anyway, it doesn't matter if it doesn't affect the claim.
Yeah, nothing I'm aware of. We can definitely pin that down for you, Beth, and sit out
Okay.
a post. It'll keep you everybody in the loop.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on claims? Any public comment or questions on claims?
And seeing none in the chat.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move that
Move
we
that we-
approve claims in the amount of $1,873,760.40.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. And if there's nothing else, I will call for adjournment. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Spring is coming.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Spring
everyone.
after us. Yeah.